Iowa's News Now Sports has your all-access pass to all things Hawkeyes. This is Eye on the Hawks.
I apologize ahead of time. I don't know if we'll put out a depth chart this summer just because all it does is get parents mad. And, nobody knows the answers to our guys every year. It doesn't really matter until we start playing, what the depth chart says. So we'll see what that looks like.
As Leslie Knope said, quoting Will Smith, parents just don't understand. Did you hear that, parents? We don't get depth charts now. What am I supposed to overreact to for 4 months if I don't have a summer depth?
They ruined it for all of us, didn't they?
Just one bad apple can ruin the whole too deep for everybody. But we'll try to move past it. We'll try to move forward here on this post-spring edition of Eye on the Hawks. Thanks for joining us. If you are on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel at 11 a.m. on Sunday, the 27th of April. And, of course, plenty of stuff up on Twitter under Eye on the Hawks as well. It's already almost May, and we made it through spring scrimmage, and a lot of faces not there, including, I felt, Mike, a little disappointing crowd numbers. I thought perfect day out there. People are excited about Hawkeye football. We were going to get a lot of folks. I felt like it was maybe the same standard as the bad weather days, maybe even a little less.
Yeah, I wonder if the good weather had people want to do something else with their days. I kind of thought it was going to be, there would be more people there. It kind of filled out where I was sitting. I was sitting kind of 45, 50-yard line. When I first got there, though, I got there a little bit late, not before practice started, but after the gates opened, and I was like, man, I'm not going to get a 50-yarder where I want. But it was easy to get one.
Yeah, it was perfect, and the folks that were there got to see a lot of fun stuff. We'll talk about it. The offense, particularly the passing game. We'll break down quarterback by quarterback what we saw from Hank Brown, Jackson Stratton, Jimmy Sullivan. We'll look at the defense, a lot of new faces, even the guys that do have experiences. And interesting insight from Kirk Ferentz on the 105 roster cap and what may not happen now as a Supreme Court decision's weighed in the House settlement.
The S show that's going on there?
Yeah, that's, as he said, he kind of at the forefront and maybe the Hawks getting bit a little bit by going about things the right way and doing right by kids. And now maybe, yeah, as he said, it's chaos, I think is the word he used. But first impressions, aside from the weather, Mike, of just a few minutes in there and getting a couple hours watching the 2025 edition. A lot of guys who weren't out there, though.
Yeah, you always
the full list if you're watching on YouTube.
I think I missed
a big graphic.
A couple too, because I used the registers, so it was either Tyler Attachment or Chad Lysico who put this together. But I was reading the Gazettes, and there was a few in there. I didn't put Mark on there because I think we all knew, obviously, he was out.
Oh man, Mark Gronowski threw a football.
I know, right? So
funny story about that. Go ahead, though.
Yeah, no. You look at the defenders who are out, but the top three linemen. Jennings Dunker's not on here too. I don't know why I didn't add him.
Yeah, Jennings Dunker, we were told had an orthopedic issue, something with his foot. Nothing big deal. Been out for
Sounds like nothing big with everyone. I'll just go down the list for the audio listeners. Jerry at Bowie, Jacob Gill, Sam Phillips, 3 receivers out, and the offense, the passing offense in particular, looked light years ahead of any other spring practice I've ever seen.
And those are all guys. I mean, Sam is probably
Gill's probably a starter.
Used to be a starter. Jacob's your leading returner. Bowie's run with the ones the last couple of years. So, yeah, we'll get into that too. 3
linemen: Bo Stevens, Logan Jones. Logan Jones. Oh yeah, I thought I said his name.
Logan Lee plays with the Steelers along with 19 other former Hawkeyes.
Logan Jones was playing, or he was not in pads, but he was playing like defense for the scout team.
I saw that.
And I was like, that's kind of funny.
Former D-line recruit, obviously. He said, and Jennings had the injury, but he said George Barnett just gave the seniors the day off. So that's him and Bo were just out for that. Logan said he was playing golf against Brendan Sullivan later in the day.
Nice. So, perfect day for that.
He's healthy, yeah. Great.
I need to hit the links. Brevin running back, and then on defense, Brian Allen we knew was out, Jeremiah Pittman, Ethan Herkett, Xavier Wamka, and Tegan Davis and Drew Campbell were all out.
Yeah, so you got a lot of starters in there. You probably have a couple of prospective captains out in Jones, and Herkett's maybe my leader in the clubhouse for a defensive captainship. But good opportunity for everybody else. It's spring. It's not. It's Iowa. They're not running full go on a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of twos out there already.
Well, one thought too was after I was watching the offense throw the ball around and throw down the field and complete passes, I was like, well, they're missing some defenders too. But they're missing starters on the offense too. So, I thought it was pretty even. Initial thoughts too, I thought Stratton, took a step. I thought and you know what, it's one practice. But we're gonna sound like we're overreacting. Yeah.
We got 4 months.
He looked really good, I thought, and Hank Brown looked okay too. But I thought Stratton played better yesterday, and the receivers, man, Kane Weegan, KJ Parker, I think he gets real minutes this year, hopefully.
Yeah, Kirk had some great things to say about him.
And Dayton Howard looked pretty
good. He was the scout guy last year. KJ Parker was, and he pointed out that he was just tearing up the defense in scout looks last year, and he gets a spot. So let's hear from Kirk and Addison Estrenga, Jacob Gillen, our first time hearing from Hank Brown as well, of just where this offense is. A lot of talk about second year under Lester's system. Everything's clicking. You're not thinking about it as much, not trying to worry about what you're doing. Now you're focused on the defense, trying to do your thing. So let's get a few minutes with those guys.
And probably more so today than we've had maybe as much all spring, but I think we have a healthy room back there. I say that, and the starter's not practicing right now, but there's been good competition. The guys are doing a good job of moving along, and I think if we've grown more in one spot than any spot on our team, it's probably the receiver group. I think we're just probably a little bit more veteran. Guys have a better understanding, and it's probably true of our whole offense right now. This is year 2, so everybody's moving a little quicker. I say everybody. The guys that have played are moving a little quicker, and hopefully they'll be, that'll come in time.
Yeah, I think when you're learning a new system, obviously you start out with the system and then you can focus on, how to actually execute the system, right? And so just taking that step of, okay, I'm not thinking about what we're doing, I'm thinking about what the defense is doing. I think that's a big part of, getting the system ingrained in your mind to where you can think about that.
Just from knowing what to do, or knowing what to do to knowing how to do it. And that's big to where we want to be. That allows you to play faster, play more confident. So yeah, I think that's big.
I think all phases of the game, our offense is capable of hitting, and so like you said, we hit some deep balls and medium balls, but whatever it takes, we can do it.
Going into year 2 with the offense, not having to overthink the playbook and stuff like that, I think has helped. Just allow them to go out and run routes and catch balls and run at a faster speed for sure.
Has the offense been putting it on the defense a little bit this spring? We don't usually see that.
For sure, yeah. It's been fun going back and forth with the defense. It's an incredible defense that we get to go against every day. So I think we both sharpen each other.
If you weren't watching on YouTube, Addison Estrenga's grown a beard and it threw Mike off for a little bit. He's had a facial hair journey during his Hawkeye days. If you are watching on YouTube, Mark Gronowski throwing a football. We did it.
I almost tweeted this out. Red alert with the alert emojis.
So you tweeted out the first video from the stands. We were out, Patrick Smith and I were out getting entrance videos, and I saw you tweet that out. And I did I got to get back in the stadium. Mark Gronowski's throwing. So here's 30 seconds of Mark Gronowski throwing for the first time.
I think shout out to Blake Hornstein. I saw him once he saw him. I saw him sprint down the sideline.
So here's Hank Brown. Let's go through Hank's day. One of his better throws here. This was a really nice one. Down to Caden Weegan on a little poster out there. That was maybe his best throw of the day. He had a
for sure.
Comebacker here to RVZ. This is another really solid one too.
I didn't mention him. He looks legit.
RVZ had a great day, and then maybe Hank's best overall play of the day. Just a nice little keeper. That seems to be more of his game. We saw scrambles from Jackson and Jimmy too, but nice play there. Jackson Stratton, you said it, man. MVP of the day. This might have been the best play of the day. Fumbled snap. And then with Jalen Watson in coverage, just drills it into RVZ. Great one. Then he's got an RPO here where he just throws a dot to Seth Anderson. Seth had a really nice day too. Kyler Girardi there in coverage. This was a great one early on. This kind of set the tone. KJ Parker just a dime there, taking a spot in the zone. Stratton again, great catch by Dayton Howard, but that was a high point ball there. Jackson, he looked like the guy who's been in the system the longest.
I think a lot of those throws too, like last year, they had receivers dropping balls, you know?
And then a little roll out there to DJ Vonaway, who's been getting some run. And then Jimmy Sullivan here had a nice throw here. This was to Xavier Williams. Zach Lutmer almost picked that off, but a nice little put there. And then this was a nice play near the end of practice. Jimmy Sullivan in the bucket to Cedar Rapids Prairie's own Apollo Payne. Really cool to see him out there and repping for the Mississippi Valley. So overall, we'll talk about the receivers too, but man, you had a little bit of everything from that quarterback room the whole wholesale changes there in that room since last spring. Saw a little bit of everything from those guys, but to your point earlier, you've got Sam out, you've got Jacob Gill out, Seth, Weege, Dayton Howard, RVZ, all those guys, they all had moments. Just Iowa's passing game, man. It looked great. It's one practice. It's April 27th today, but man, something to chew on for the next 4 months.
Yeah, 100%. And, I think if you're a critic, you'd be like, well, what does that say about the Iowa defense, And it's hard to judge, really is, when you're watching, one team scrimmage against each other. Because in the past, we've seen the offense super struggle, and then the defense has been really good. I don't think that's a worry right now. I just was impressed what I saw. I thought the offense, you could start to see the Tim Lester kind of, there was one where there was a speed option and then he did a triple option on the back end. And I was like, oh, okay, haven't seen that.
There's a little reverse kind of sweep thing to.
Yeah, and Caden scored on that. And you talked about the RPOs, like sprinkling them in a little more. And I kind of thought.
No slow mesh, though, Roger.
Yeah. And Tim said last week that's kind of hard to install.
Yeah,
you have to do it like all the time.
A whole other philosophy for sure.
We'll see if we see that. That'd be nice. But you do start to see how Tim is different than Brian Ferentz on the passing game. And I do think it will throw some teams off, especially teams that are used to playing Iowa. And, I'm excited to see what it does this fall.
Yeah, I think you just got a taste of the confidence to attack, right? And again, you're doing this with a group of twos because it's going to be Mark out there, and Sam and Jacob are going to be key parts of that. Wasn't a ton to the tight ends. You saw Vonaway, his little touchdown there. Addison had a couple grabs that were mostly short. Hank was doing a lot of dump-off stuff, which is fine. And again, his rushing ability was more focused or set and out of structure, whereas Jackson and Jimmy had a couple scrambles just out of pressure. But tight ends didn't see a ton of stuff from, which is fine because your wideouts are stretching the field and getting gains there. Running backs, Kamari had a couple nice plays. Jazz
seemed like they were holding back the older guys.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to see guys like Nathan McNeil, who's an early enrollee, who looked
really flashed, I thought.
Yeah, and even in that spring practice that we got a little bit of access to about a month ago, looked good there. Xavier Williams was out there, a guy they've been really high on. Omar Young seems to be just picking up where Liddell Betts left off, and that's been fun to see. But yeah, that again, it's all spring. It's all overreactionary, and we're trying to make sense of things that it's not time to make sense of. But you just had to see those flashes and see the confidence to go downfield, and it's exciting stuff. Knowing that you've got a room full of guys that are capable of doing that. Particularly, again, we know too much and are too plugged into guys that are third, fourth on the depth chart because of what happened to some extent in 23, but especially last year where you get down to, Kyler Girardi's moved over like, hey, remember North Scott? Yeah, you can maybe do that for a couple practices here. We're going to need a little more depth. But the fact that you've got a guy like Jackson Stratton who, and he's doing it against twos there, which are partially threes as well, yesterday at practice. But the fact that, you got a guy who can keep pushing Hank for two this year, and heck, you're going to open it up in 26 and may the best guy win, and you're bringing Hecklinski in from Wake Forest too. There's just fun competition in that room, and Tim Lester's just got to be giddy about it.
Yeah, no doubt. And one thing I do want to add too is the pass rush did look good. This was a practice where you're not going to hit the quarterback, and they're not going to blow the play dead just so they can get reps throwing the ball downfield. And I don't want to say half, but a good portion of those throws, or some of the throws that were made and completed, probably would have been sacks.
Yeah.
If they were playing real football.
For sure. Let's hear from the defense.
One quick thing about the offense, though. I think I had assumed that Jackson might transfer, but now I think he's competing for the backup role.
I think we're just used to.
Is that what you think?
I hope he stays, and that's been my hope from the beginning. I just think he's kind of the quintessential example of what Tim Lester can do. He's brought in a lot of guys with a lot of experience. Jackson was the dude that, he flies out to SoCal and watches him throw and says, hey, like, he's got a live arm. I can work with that and get footwork going and all that. Getting him to the point again where this fourth string, fifth string walk-on was able to get thrown in the fire in Los Angeles and make a couple really nice throws against UCLA, then makes a start on the road at College Park, makes a couple great throws there again, took a sack early in the game, but you saw him learn and evolve, and, you know, then just did what he had to do against Nebraska to help get the win there, and it helps when you just swing it out to Caleb Johnson and he goes Super Saiyan. But, yeah, that's a guy you'd want in your quarterback room, and just goes to show that Tim's pretty good at doing what he can with quarterbacks, whether they're coming in, they're a two-time FCS national champion, or a kid that completed 28% of passes at Colorado State and hadn't taken a live snap in 2 years. He can throw into the fire. So I hope he sticks around. I hope there aren't a whole lot of.
It just seems like 4 quarterbacks like that, that'd be a great room.
Yeah.
But in today's day and age of college football, you know.
But also
if you're competing for the second job, the backup, you know, you'd probably stay.
Yeah, and you know, it's so interesting of how you have to approach the quarterback room, and Kirk talked about it afterwards as well, of, you know, Brendan leaving. It sounds like he didn't want to leave. I think he loved being a Hawkeye and didn't shy away from that fact, but it's your last year, and you want to go be the guy somewhere, and he's going to get an opportunity in Tulane to do that. But Kirk talked about, you know, it's quarterback. There's only one ball. You can't rotate guys, or you try not to. You know, last year was the most we've really seen any sort of like rotational philosophy in all his time, really. And, you know, talking about Jake Rudock and Cody Sokol, that was a great room with Beathard in it. And you had all 3 of those guys had all-conference success at some point somewhere else. You know, Beathard in 15 was an all Big Ten guy, and Jake Rudock went to Michigan and was an all Big Ten guy and threw for 3,000 yards. And before J.J. McCarthy showed up, he was even beyond Cade. I mean, he was the best quarterback of the Harbaugh era. Jake Rudock was in 2015, and Cody Sokol went down to Louisiana Tech and was Conference USA Newcomer of the Year. I mean, that was a great room, and it's just that's how it is in that room. And now, especially, I just wonder how you recruit quarterbacks and how you keep that room stacked. You almost have to have a room like you did in Iowa City in 2014, where like there are 3 guys here that can start for Division I teams. You know, it's the embarrassment of riches that teams like Alabama and Georgia and Texas and programs like that have had, where you got to have a room full of guys knowing that not everyone's going to finish there, or one guy might just be there for a year, 2 guys might be there for a year. I wonder how Tim and any offensive coordinator and quarterback coach has to go about recruiting that room for as long as college football is going to be like this, which I would imagine would be for a while, because you need quarterbacks, and you just have to, I think, over-recruit, knowing that room's going to have a lot of turnover.
It helps, too, that all the guys they have in, it's Hecklinski,
Jeremy Hecklinski.
Brown and Stratton all have multiple years, you know.
Yeah.
You know, Brendan only having one. You have to go play, or you're not going to.
Yeah, it's a fascinating time for recruiting in general, but particularly quarterbacks. Let's hear from the defense, though. Carson Shire, who's in there after all his special teams experience, just talking about how much that special teams experience has paid off as he moves into a one spot, and some reflections on Jaden Harrell as well from him and Kirk. Kirk also talking about just young guys in new spots, or veteran guys moving into new spots, and what he saw. So we'll spend a couple minutes with them.
It really helps you get the real feel of Big Ten football, the competitiveness and physicality it really takes to be able to compete at this high level. And you know, it just makes you more comfortable for when you're really in there on the defense, ready to take on the other team.
You know, we've had a couple guys really stand out over the spring, and Xavier's moving, he's playing into the boundary now. He's playing free safety. He's done a good job. He's been out for about a week. Again, nothing. You know, he'll be fine here. I think we've probably got three, 4 guys on the interior. Cleric's probably improved more than anybody. Maybe on our defense, he's really playing at a whole different level than he was 2 years ago. And then, the corners, we probably got about a 3-man battle, and then a couple guys working to be the 4th guy, that type of deal. So that's kind of what I was alluding to. I don't think we'll really know for sure until, we get close to game time. And then we may not know then until we start playing to see who's who and what's what, but at least there are guys moving in the right direction. That's encouraging. TJ Halls, I think, had a good spring too. He's part of being in college, I think, is, you get experience, you're in a program, you're learning, you're out there competing, and then, if you're doing it right, hopefully you'll improve. And I think we're witnessing that with him and a lot of guys. Just, he probably had a pretty dramatic jump this spring. Jaden Harrell's a good example, and I'm not saying it's the Jay Higgins story all over again, but Jay's paid attention, Jaden's paid attention real closely. He's done a good job on special teams, and he'll keep competing for a job. But he acts like a guy who's been here for a couple of years and knows the drill, and he helps hold other people to standards too. So it's been good. I think for as much as we've lost, I think got a lot of guys that are anxious to be out front and do a good job. Cohen's the same way, and so you get enough of those guys operating the way they should. Hopefully it'll all come together as we move forward. But we're not there yet, but at least I think we're on the right path. And
Harrell's a great communicator, great leader of the defense. He does a great job getting in his spots, getting everybody aligned so we're all on the same page. Just being transparent throughout the whole defense and make sure we're all communicating and all together and have good chemistry.
All right, let's recap the day for the defense. A couple big plays. You heard Cade Kolarek be mentioned of just his rise. He had a heck of a play
all over.
Here, courtesy of Jalen Watson. Pass here over to KJ Parker, tipped up by Jalen and picked off by Kolarek there in the end zone. A big play. Had another example of
you get tripped there too.
Yeah, a little bit.
Low
Jimmy
blow.
Sullivan gets a pass batted at the line. Chima Chinike out of Plano, Texas, kind of interfered with not interfered, bad word to use when describing defense, but made it tough for Jimmy, and Derek Weisskopf made the pick. Great play by Cohen Entringer early on a PBU on a pass intended for Seth Anderson. Great play here, but again by Watson on Caden Weegan on the sideline to break that up at the very, very end. Yeah, Jalen had a great day. Hank Brown trying to go short to, I believe that was Seth again, Carson Shire in there with a PBU. Defense was flying all over, these new guys in different spots. Jackson Stratton going to the sideline. Rashad Godfrey in there making things difficult for Caden on the sideline too. You saw Des King back helping out a little bit this spring. Jonah Pace, kid from CMU in there with a batted ball at the line. Then you had Joseph Anderson, I believe out of the St. Louis area, had a batted ball at the line as well, and then a hit stick from TJ Hall, big hit for him. And then Shire knocked Hank Brown right there too, gave him a nice little pop. So Carson Shire, all the big hits on defense, or on special teams, I should say, the last few years, had a big pop there as well. Will Hubert had a fumble recovery against Northwestern, I believe it was, had a nice chase down on a swing out as well. Also, Kamari Moulton was the guy that got popped by TJ Hall. So Kamari had a couple nice plays yesterday, but he took the brunt of maybe the hit of the day from TJ Hall. It sounds like he's your number one cornerback right now. But talked a little bit about the defense already, Mike, but just the thoughts of those young guys in different spots. Cam Buffington was out there a little bit. Saw Preston Reese make a few nice plays as well. Those younger linebackers, the guys who are basically the twos now, who are going to be stepping into special teams roles after their redshirt years. Saw a lot of promise, which is it's a bit of a juxtaposition. We talked about receivers had a really good day. Passing game, downfield passing game looked good. But you can also look at the other side of the ball and you go, boy, like secondary had some really nice plays too. I mean, we're talking a lot about the offense just because I think people are starved to be talking positive about the offense. But man, it was there were some impressive things to the defense too.
Yeah, I think it's also hard to judge on a practice like this when you can't tackle, right? Like, they can't hit the quarterback for obvious reasons, and there wasn't any tackling. So a play that looks like it goes 15 probably went 7, Yeah. So I was impressed with TJ Hall. And when you hear from Kirk Ferentz, it sounds like he is your number one guy moving forward. The younger guys did look pretty good. And, yeah, Cale Kolarek was just all over the field. He'll be in a backup role, but he'll probably get some minutes just because, they don't play 100% of the snaps back there at safety, or at least they didn't last year. So that was good to see. And yeah, I thought the pass rush was pretty good. They, again, working against the twos because they had 3 starting linemen out, but still, that Jonah Pace batted ball and a couple other batted balls was encouraging to see.
Yeah, really good. And you do have South Dakota's Shaheed Barrows coming in. He officially announced his commitment. It had been out there for a day, but shortly after spring practice posted he was committed, so he's supposed to be in the mix in that cornerback room as well. Has been was a really good defender for the Coyotes up there in South Dakota, where Steve Ferentz is a coach, and Miles Taylor was coaching up the defensive backs there as well, former Hawkeye safety. So you get him coming in as well. Yeah, defensive line, it sounds like Bryce and Jonah have really fit in well in that room, coming in from their respective schools. It was really, there weren't a whole lot of huge plays from Harold, but it sounds like he's the leader in that room. And you saw, didn't see a whole lot of stuff from Drexroff. That's a dude that's played so much football, like, you don't worry about him. But Carson had some moments. Those younger guys had moments. I think, and this could be the story for across the board for Iowa, I think your ones, everyone's real comfortable with the ones. There's depth at wide receiver. There's not a whole lot of guys in the tight end room. On the defensive side, I think the question for the year is going to be, where's the depth? In linebackers, I think you're cautiously optimistic about the twos, all those freshmen and other guys. Jaden Montgomery's a veteran guy that's in there. But I think that'll be the question to start asking as you get into the fall and you get into Big Ten season. Like, okay, who are the guys who are going to step up and fill that depth? Because you were really confident about your depth at linebacker last year, even though you had all these veteran guys, but you had these dudes who had played at that point 70 or 80 combined special teams games. Now those are the guys that are the ones, and you've got a bunch of redshirt freshmen and a couple veteran guys who have played special teams filling that gap. So the building of the depth and experience, which isn't something you can microwave, as we talked about, that's going to be really interesting to me as we get into the fall.
Yeah, depth at secondary, and you can see the coaching staff address that with that corner. He's veteran guy. That was a concern, and still, I think the depth at D-line is fine.
Yeah.
Still, for me, there's something about, I got to see the linebackers do it. We're cautiously optimistic, but that's still cautiously, right? And we'll see if the frontline guys are on that level that they've been in a while, and see what the depth looks like there. So those are the two big things heading into the fall.
Special teams, again, said the thing you don't worry about is then the thing that maybe pops up. If there was one slight eyebrow-raising situation yesterday, Caden Burr out of Bettendorf, looked just fine. Great to have him in there. Enrolled early. Drew missed a couple kicks. It's April 26th, whatever. But if you had to say one thing,
yeah.
After hearing all the good stuff about him.
Oh, sure, yeah.
If anybody can afford and you can forgive, big word there, to a rough day at the office, Drew Stevens has earned a little bit of that.
Yeah, 100%. He 28 for 23 last year. I don't think you should be too concerned. But when I was sitting there and they were going in the 11v11 and they were doing the situational stuff, I counted he missed at least 4 kicks. 45, 52, 54, and 47 is what I guess they were, which 2 of those are 50-plus. Like, you're not going to hit 100% of the 50-plussers, even though I think he almost did that last season, didn't he? Wasn't he super accurate from deep? But just when on Friday, when you hear from LeVar talking about, let's draw him out from 65, it was just like, oh, okay. But I do believe when I was sitting there pregame, he was nailing those length kicks, just with no linemen.
His leg's so freaking strong.
Yeah.
That's every time you're. I got missed, but that was also almost over the bar, over the goalpost. I mean, it's just.
I just chalk it up to a bad day.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Practice.
It's whatever. Reese looked great. Didn't see a whole lot of return stuff because it's.
They only did a couple of coffin corner, which I was disappointed about because that's I think in the last Kids Day and the last spring ball, that was what got the crowd the most checked. And I only saw a few of those, but
Tell me you're at an Iowa spring scrimmage without telling me you're at an Iowa scrimmage.
I will say I saw early on, and you never know who's going to be back there returning kicks, but Nathan McNeil was getting one-on-one with LeVar Woods, and you just kind of wonder if maybe that's the way he sees the field, not as a punt returner, but just as maybe that second kick returner. Yeah. I think it might be TJ Washington. I think he could go back there. He's just electric and, can make some plays.
He does everything else at this point. Why not put TJ back there? Zach Lutmer was back on.
Sure, yeah. There's a lot of guys out there who could probably do that role.
And it might take a few rotations, just like defensive back or whatever it may be. There might be some trial and error, and you try to figure it out in the non-con against teams like UMass and
with
Albany.
Caden. Well, obviously you got to mention that.
Obviously, yeah. again, a spot that you're happy with what you got. Real quick, just a recap as guys are getting free agent deals and minicamp invites. Obviously, Caleb Johnson, 83rd overall pick on Friday, going to the Steelers. Again, one of a lot of Hawkeyes going there. Y.A. Black going there, and was he 5th round? Yeah, 5th round, pick 164 heading there. Mason Richmond going up to Seattle. Sounds like Tyler Ellsbury's got a rookie minicamp deal with the Seahawks as well. You get Connor Colby going to the Niners in the 7th round, pick 249. 6 picks later, Luke Lachey going to go do his best. C.J. Fedorowicz down in Houston joining the Texans. Great opportunity.
Couple of Cyclones with him.
Yeah, boy, what a cool story. What a cool story for Iowa State. Jay Higgins going to Baltimore, going to team back up with Tyler Linderbaum. Man, perfect free agent opportunity for Jay. He could have a lot of fun there. Castro's on his way to Pittsburgh as well.
The Pittsburgh Hawkeyes. I think Chad Lysico said that.
It's
first one to.
It's perfect. Luke Elkin, who I have to imagine, Tory Taylor, who was at Kinnick on Saturday, had to tell the front office guys, get my guy Luke a free agent deal. And wouldn't it be so cool if that's, to use the baseball term, the battery for the Bears for like the next decade? Luke Elkin and Tory Taylor.
As a Packer fan, no, that wouldn't be cool.
No, yeah, it's a bad idea. And Jamari Harris just got a deal with the Titans as well. Mentioned Tyler Ellsbury, still waiting. Haven't heard anything on Nick Jackson yet. At least I haven't seen it. I do know Quinn Schulte's got a rookie minicamp invite, 2nd full week of May, to the Raiders. Sounds like he's working on something as well, maybe for that first week. I mean, that's the nice part about the rookie minicamps is it's tryout. It's not set in stone stuff. But hey, like, what better place to go show off what you can do than a guy or the Raiders, a franchise that's co-owned by Tom Brady and Pete Carroll's there and as a coach. Mm-hmm. Those are the dudes that get in with them, and I think you'll be all right. So we'll see if anything else pops up throughout the weekend and the week going into the rest of this stuff. A lot of guys getting deals. There's talked a bit about this on Friday, but the 105 roster limit and what Iowa did that a lot of teams didn't do going into the spring, and Kirk being transparent with dudes that maybe were on the line or on the edge and letting them know, hey, like, there might be a spot, there might not be a spot. If you need to jump, you do what you have to do. And you had a bunch of guys go in the portal, a few guys going in the portal because of that, a few guys that are still sticking around. James Rezar was still out, been in the portal since December, I think it is. He was still there yesterday, not playing, was in sweats. So imagine he's still out the door, but has been with the team throughout the spring. Khalil Tate, who just jumped into the portal a couple weeks ago, or less than a couple weeks ago, he was still out there. There were 2 14s out there.
Confuse me.
Alex Moto was also there. Didn't
you know which one was primarily out there, or were they both out there? Because I was.
I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Yeah.
Moto was. We talked about Moto on Friday. I wanted to see him. There were a couple times that it looked like was making some plays. Heard his name called a couple times, but. I couldn't tell you who was getting more reps out there.
Just the same white jersey. I was like, which one is it?
The point is that now there's this House settlement that's up in the air, request from the judge to try to grandfather stuff in, stair-step this thing, which is what Ferentz and a litany of other coaches said should happen.
Matt Campbell had a fiery statement last week about it.
Matt Campbell, rightfully so, went a little scorched earth on some stuff as well. Scott Docterman asked Kirk about this, and sometimes doing the right thing bites you in the behind, and feels like maybe that's not fully what's happening with Iowa, but like, boy, like, hey, if you weren't so gosh darn honest and transparent, what could have been. So just an interesting conversation with Scott's question, Kirk's answer. We'll give you a few minutes to listen to that from yesterday.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, I guess, the 105, which may or may not happen.
So do I. Yeah. I want to ask you, but anyway, okay. Yeah.
Well, with the judge at least saying that this needs to be phased in, which is something that I think you and everybody else said a year ago needed to happen. How did this ball get dropped, first of all? And second of all, is it fair for you that you were so transparent with all of your players back in December, and a lot of them that could have been great depth pieces or even competing for best special teams or depth spots here? So is it fair to you that you were actually on the forefront?
Yeah, since I've been here, I counted them. We have a couple of things on the wall in there. I counted them one day. I think we've had 8 captains. since I've been back that were came here as walk-ons. That's one of my first thoughts. But to your point that you really talked about, we have some guys that were just good team guys, that we had to tell back. We didn't have to tell, apparently, back in December. But, I think we all felt it was the right thing to do. If we're not going to be able to guarantee a spot in the spring, thought the right thing to do is tell the guys then, allow them to stay with us. I mean, they're all welcome to stay through the bowl, take trips, and then come back and still go to the bowl. And a lot of guys found good homes, and I'm not saying – I don't know how many of them would have been starters ever. You can't predict that. But to your point, they're all good team guys that helped us go and operate well. So, you got a couple things. The 105 number is an issue, and that's a whole separate category. And but the way we've gone about it, yeah. And, you deal with whatever comes your way because, this is way out of my hands, so I didn't get too worked up about it. But I will be a little bit upset if they say, you can grandfather guys in. Our guys are gone, and to me it rewards the people that, in my opinion, maybe weren't thinking about the best of what's best for their players by keeping them, letting them. And we had, for the record, 4 or 5 guys that we, said, hey, you're not on the 105, but you're welcome to stay in the spring too, and they've chosen to do that. But we've been transparent with each and every guy. I just felt like that was the right thing to do. That's how I'd want to be treated, and I think you owe that to every player. I'll be a little upset if it blows up in our face. It's going to be, and I'm not sure how we'll fill our roster if this actually is goes through in somehow, even if it's not grandfathered. I don't know where we go shopping for players right now. So and then the other part of it, not to belabor the thing, but the guys we let go, we knew, like they've been here and they know the routine and they've been good team members, and so now you're going on blind dates with another, let's say 10 guys or 15 guys. Not really wild about blind date. I'm a little too old for that, I think so. Anyway, so we'll see. But we'll deal with whatever happens. But that's my point about the whole thing. It's April 26th, and we still don't know what the rules are. Not to mention what's going to happen if we are 105. What about the guys that are injured? What about – because it's not like the NFL. You can't pull guys off the street in October. They're not out there. So it's just that, parts of this whole equation, big news flash, but parts of this whole equation has not really been well thought out, unfortunately. But the good news is, overall, if it works, it's going to be a lot better. Just to, give us some structure, because we have none right now. And hopefully we won't try that for another year, because it's chaos.
To Kirk's point, this feels like free agency sometimes so much. Mm-hmm. When we were talking to Sam Phillips a couple weeks ago, just not even thinking about like visits and seasons and all that. I was like, what game did you come in for your visit? He's like, well, I was playing. I'm like, oh, duh, yeah. Like, but that's just what it feels like. Like every week, every month, there's somebody coming in and visiting and all that. But he's right. Like that's the tough part of where these teams are. Of like, yeah, those limits and having to make that change immediately. If you have Iowa in 2023, it'd be great to bring in somebody off the street, right? Get anybody in for tight end, so Zach Ortworth at tight end 6 is all okay. Now, go figure it out, Zach. You were in high school, 10 months ago. Just go put it together for us, please and thank you. Yeah, it's people got to have themselves. Go figure. We'll see how it all pans out, but it's a tough spot, particularly if you were trying to go about it the right way and to get bitten like this, it stinks.
I wonder how many other schools did that. I would venture to say not too many.
It doesn't sound like it.
It's difficult too. Like, this is probably not going to be the last time a judge in the court around, the status of college athletes who should be, right? I think it would. I'm not an expert at this, but I feel like we were chatting about this last night. Just if players are treated and classified as employees, you could have them sign contracts, and that would do away with the people, or the kids jumping from school to school, asking for more money in the season. Or if you leave, you got to pay this back, or you're not getting this portion of your whatever. But I feel like the NCAA is probably going to, fight that too. And the settlement too. It was going to be signed, but then a judge said, hey, this is unfair. It just, you wish she would have seen that beforehand.
Yeah, and it's not one person's fault. This isn't a new battle. It's Kane Coulter a decade ago now. Trying to get student athletes unionized, and getting some. To Kirk's point, just structure and sense of things. It's always rough watching it play out in real time because it is, we're getting ready for severe weather tomorrow. It's a tornado just whipping cows and front porches around, and you're just hoping things settle down in a place that halfway looks like a house.
But if only this court decision would have came down last fall, but things move slow in the court unless they're expedited, and you can't really plan for that. The judge will say, you know what, this doesn't make sense. Coaches have been saying it doesn't make sense for 6 or 7 months, not blaming the judge because they come to make decisions when they come to it.
That's the
system. It's just unfortunate
as two
for some
guys
players.
who cover a lot of court stuff on the news side, for our actual day jobs.
You'd be surprised how long a murder trial takes.
Things can take a long time. Yeah, and the variables that play out in delaying in trials and things like that. But that's a different podcast.
Yeah.
We won't get too much more into that. I know we don't really have a whole lot more to get into today. We'll start kind of a summer hiatus, I suppose you call it. We'll try to figure out times to pop in and do stuff, and I think we're going to get some of the videos from today up on the YouTube channel. If you weren't watching, you can go there and check out our highlights from spring scrimmage. And any final thoughts on spring compared to where it was at the end of the bowl game or even the end of last spring? I mean, it's a different roster. It's things are looking a lot different.
Yeah, no, I think I don't want to say the hype, but I think for the first time since Nate Stanley, you can be like, okay, we might have a competent passing attack and weapons who can make plays in the field. Bold prediction. I know you threw that one in there.
I threw that in. Bold prediction for going into whether that's a guy you like or whatever it may be.
Sure, yeah. I like KJ Parker. I think he's going to be a factor this season. And same with Terrell Washington Jr.
Yeah.
I just think Tim Lester is going to find ways to utilize them. Maybe not heavy, but get him in the game and find ways to get him the ball. So I'll go with that for right now.
TJ Hall is cornerback 1 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year, Jalen Watson has made enough plays to go, okay, and that's not a knock on Deshaun Lee, who's played a lot of football too. I think Kirk mentioned having the 3 guys in the mix for 1, and you got a couple guys going for 2, or for the kind of the 4th gig there. I think that whole room is going to raise itself, and some of the bumps you saw last year at corner, I think those guys are just making each other better, and you could have a really solid 3 to 4 guy group by the time you get into November and get into the nitty gritty. The ones across the board on this team, depth needs to be built. But man, the ones on this team, it's April 27th. There's a chance this is a really, really solid group. I shouldn't use the word solid.
So you think they're going to average, huh?
I think this has a chance to be a really good group. I think the ones across the board, you got some really good guys who have either played a lot of football or they're young guys who have flashed potential of being really good to great players. So
I totally agree. And this is probably just football summed up into one thing, but the schedule is also a lot tougher than it has been the few years.
It is, yeah.
So you might not see more wins, but you could have a better squad. So who knows when the season comes, what will happen? But that's just one thing. When you're looking at it, it's yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Just real quick, Nick Jackson, it sounds like is we were talking about guys getting camp invites. Giants and Ravens rookie minicamp. So gets to reunite with Jay in Baltimore. That's awesome, and going up to the Giants, so we'll see Liddell Betts there, and hope the best for him. And should mention Spencer Petras, rookie minicamp invites. It sounds like to the
Chiefs and Chargers.
Yeah. So the AFC West.
Heir apparent to Patrick Mahomes, maybe.
Hey, get him touring around the AFC West, man. Just awesome to see Spencer getting opportunities and rooting for him and for everybody else. Hey, these Iowa guys. They go undrafted and they stick in the league for 10 years. Eventually they'll figure it out, right? These teams, they'll figure it out. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Whenever you tune in, whether it's YouTube channel downloads, if you're watching on YouTube. Eye on the Hawks on Twitter. We'll keep pumping out content of some kind here for a while. We'll figure out some summer stops to make and check-ins and whatnot. And yeah, let's debate things for the next 4 months that we saw for 2 hours on a Saturday at Kinnick. It's been fun. Appreciate you. For Mike, I'm Mitch. See you next time, whenever it is on Eye on the Hawks.